So Google's A lineup for its Pixel phones have always been kind of like the budget-friendly option where you can get similar options to its regular Pixel phones with a little bit of compromise. Similarly, the Pixel 7a, which we have here today and which we're going to be unboxing and reviewing, is Google's answer to a cheaper version of the Pixel 7 and the 7 Pro. And as expected, there are a few drawbacks or a few downgrades on the 7a, which are obviously to keep the price down. But the big question is the compromise too much? Is Google asking for too much of a dip when it comes to the 7a? And is the price gap big enough for you to actually even consider getting the 7a, or should you just go for the 7 or the 7 Pro in the first place? So unboxing the phone, we have it in this white color. I believe it's called Snow or Frost. So we have the phone right in front of us here, alongside the charging cable here, which is a USB-C to USB-C cable. We also have the dongle, which Google often includes in its box for a regular USB to USB-C. This is also used often to transfer data. We also have what I believe is the booklet. We have the SIM ejector pin over here, and yes, we have a little bit of paperwork inside of this little box. Now, looking at the phone itself, it is a little bit on the thicker side, I would say. This band is actually made up of metal, and even the frame of the phone is made up of aluminum. So it's nice to see that even for a budget phone, we are keeping the quality a little bit high. On the front, we have glass, obviously, but on the back, we have plastic. But Google has done a pretty good job at mimicking glass, so it doesn't look like plastic at all. It actually feels and looks like glass. On the bottom, we have the USB-C port for the charging. We have a dual stereo speaker system over here. On this side, we have the SIM tray, and this supports 2 SIMs, but it does not support external memory options. On the top, we have the antenna bands. Over here as well, we have the antenna bands, and we have the microphone. And on the right side, we have the volume rocker button and also the power button, which is very clicky, I would say. Now that we have the phone turned on, let's go ahead and talk about the display. So the Pixel 7a comes with a 6.1-inch OLED display. This comes with a full HD resolution. Looking at the price point, or considering that this is kind of the budget option for the Pixel lineup, I'm not really mad at that. I think that's okay. We also have a 90 Hertz of refresh rate here, not 120, which is kind of understandable. It does have the dynamic option, which means that it can go down to 60 if it's needed. It is not LTPO, so it's either going to be at 60 or 90, depending on what you're looking at. One more thing I should mention, that the glass over here is Gorilla Glass 3. The brightness is also pretty good. So in auto mode, which means that if you're outside, the brightness goes up to, I think, 1080 nits, which is pretty good. Because this is the 7a and it is kind of like the budget option, there are some, you can say, compromises or downgrades. So talking about the water resistance or the dust resistance, this comes with IP67 instead of IP68, which is usually the standard nowadays. Now, if we talk about the performance of the Pixel 7a, I should mention that this comes with its own tensor chip, and the whole lineup of the Pixel 7 series, that means the 7a, the 7 and the 7 Pro, come with the exact same chipset. They all come with the Tensor G2. I think that's what it's, yeah, the Tensor G2. That is the second generation of the Tensor chip lineup. A little bit about the Tensor chips is that they're not really made for performance. So Google doesn't really advertise this chip as being strong when it comes to hardcore performance. It's not going to let you down, but this is mostly based on AI, or it's AI driven. This is usually meant for tasks such as real-time translating of, I believe, up to 60-70 languages. It's also really good at voice-to-text speech. It's also pretty good when it comes to the camera. So the camera has a lot of different AI features, like removal of certain objects or people in your background, and also it freakishly unblurs images. So if you've taken a picture that was pretty blurry, it will do its AI magic and do a pretty good job at unblurring the picture. So it's mostly AI driven. A lot of people look at this and compare this with other phones. I think it's not really fair, but yes, people want to see numbers. So when it comes to Antutu, we did run a test, and we were a little bit surprised. So it comes at around 598,000, so 600,000 points for Antutu. This is not a really high number if you compare to phones that have been released this year, and especially if you compare it to Qualcomm's latest 8 Gen 1 or 8 Gen 2, which are giving you around 1 million points, or at least 800,000, 900,000 points depending on the RAM. I should mention that this also only comes with 8 gigs of RAM. So the 7A and the 7 come with 8 gigs. The 7 Pro has the option of 12 gigs of RAM as well. Performance-wise, this is not going to give you any problems. So if you want to play PUBG, Call of Duty, and pretty heavy games, you're not going to have any issues at all. Now, talking about the battery, which is an area that kind of turned me off a little bit, the 7A comes with 4,380 milliamperes of battery, I think. So it's not the standard 5,000 milliamperes that you usually get nowadays, and it shows. So all-day battery is very much doable, but it keeps you on the edge because you're scared that you're going to drain the battery too fast. So at the end of the day, for a regular usage, not even a full usage, I would say just a regular everyday, using the camera a little bit, making phone calls, browsing, watching videos, it was left with around 10 to 15% battery at the end of the day, which was kind of concerning, I would say, especially for a phone of this size. I mean, it's a 6.1-inch display. I would at least want a 5,000 milliampere battery. The 7 Pro is the only phone that comes with a 5,000 milliampere battery. Another downgrade is the charging speed. So this supports 18 watts of fast charging. Not really fast charging, just 18 watts of charging. And it also supports wireless charging, but it only supports 7.5 watts of wireless charging, which is really slow as compared to today's standards. Camera-wise, the Pixel has always stood out. That's an area where Pixel has done a really good job. This has a dual camera setup, so it has a main 64 megapixel camera paired with a 13 megapixel ultra-wide camera. I took a few shots here, and the quality was really nice. I would say the colors were accurate. The picture quality overall was pretty good. Both in low light and daylight conditions, it gave me pretty good results. It also is integrated with a lot of AI-based features when it comes to the camera. So the chip is really effective at doing that. So it will unblur pictures as well, and it will remove objects or people from your photos if you want to. When it comes to the video, it shoots at 4K, 30 FPS and 60 FPS. It shoots in 1080p at 3060, 120, and 240 as well. When it comes to the front camera, we have also a 13 megapixel camera, which takes, again, very nice selfies. The front camera, if you do want to record video with the front camera, it also supports 4K resolution with 30 FPS. Now, finally, talking about the price, which is the biggest concern of this phone, the Pixel 7a comes with a price tag officially on the Google website of $499, so $500 for the 7a. That is a little bit concerning for me because there's a lot of phones in my mind at that price point which are much better performing phones. $500, I'm not saying it's a very high price point, but there are a few factors here that kind of annoy you. I should also mention that this the Google 7a only comes with the option of 128 gigs of storage. It does not come with the option of 256 or 512. And as I mentioned in the beginning, the SIM tray does not have a external memory card option, so you're stuck with 128. And one more thing that I didn't mention throughout the video is the thick boy bezels that you see over here. I mean, these are really thick bezels for a phone that came out in 2023. I don't know what your opinion is on that, but they are uncomfortably thick, and they're bothering me. That was the first thing that I noticed about the phone, although I didn't mention it. But the first impression of my phone was, wow, those are really thick bezels. If you can live with very thick bezels, a $500 price tag, a subpar battery and subpar charging, and average, I would say, performance, then yeah, this is the phone for you. In my opinion, if you ask me, I would buy the OnePlus 10 Pro, which is a phone that does everything that the Pixel does, but I think in a much better way. So it has the 8th Gen 1 chip. It will give you around 1 million points. It has a much better camera system, a much better display, and just overall a better phone in my opinion. That comes, I think it's a little bit cheaper than this, so it comes at around $440, $450. I would simply just spend $200 more because the difference between this, the 7 and the 7 Pro is just $100 each. So this comes $499, 7 comes at $599, and then you have the 7 Pro at $699. So if I was supposed to buy a Pixel phone, I would most likely just spend $200 extra and buy the 7 Pro, which is the flagship, obviously. So that is my conclusion of the Pixel 7a. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let me know whether you would actually consider buying the Pixel phone. And if you had the budget of $500, what phone would you buy? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.